Good evening, members. Could I invite nominations for the chair of the Planning Committee for 25-26, please?
Could I propose Martijn Andrea, please?
Ask for nominations for the vice chair. Are there any nominations for the vice chair? Catherine?
Yes. It is working. I'd like to nominate Carol Jewell.
Do you have a seconder? Are there any other nominations? Then we move to the apologies. No apologies. Then we go to the minutes of the previous meeting. Can we confirm that we're all in agreement with the minutes of the meeting? Do you have to have a vote for that one?
Show of hands.
Show of hands would be great. Yeah, you're good. Well, you were. Okay. Any abstain or objections? Abstains? Okay. That's carried. Any declaration of interests for the items on the agenda?
Yes, I have declaration of interest for the application 241861. Shall I read it out now? Yeah. I have to declare that I have been interested in the building of this school at this site for a long time. I was present at the Shinfield Parish Council meeting on the 28th of August 2024, where full council were updated on the discussion at their Planning and Highways meeting, but I only listened to what was said. I've also discussed the application with my husband, Richard Hoyle, who is a Shinfield Parish Councillor and is on the Planning and Highways Committee. Again, these discussions did not focus on the actual details of the application, but more on whether a one-form entry school was sufficient. But that is not what we are considering today. I've only really paid attention to the details, both WBC's plans and SBC's objections, as they have been presented in the agenda for this meeting and at the site visit, and I believe that I have an open mind on whether the planning application before us today should be granted or refused.
Okay, then we move to the next item. Thank you, Catherine. As I said, this will be a formal set of procedures we must adhere to. Today, the planning officer, Abby Peaker, will present the application. After that, it will be followed by a 3-minute presentation by Ollie Gill and David Smith on behalf of Wokingham Borough Council and the applicants. And then secondly, Richard Hoyle on behalf of the Shinfield Parish Council will speak for 3 minutes. Once the presentation has been made, the committee will discuss and debate the application, seeking clarifications from the council's professional planning officers where necessary. Thank you. Abby, yeah, whenever you're ready.
Thank you. So the application under consideration tonight is for the approval of reserved matters for a single form entry primary school at Church Lane and Hyde End Road, Spencer's Wood and 3 Mile Cross. This includes associated outdoor space and landscaping. So the proposed access to the school was granted under outline planning consent approved in 2014, and the committee are therefore required to assess the application only in relation to layout, appearance, landscaping and scale of the application before them. The application that is in front of the committee today is for a one-form entry school, and therefore this is the application that the committee must determine based on the merits of the scheme presented to you. So the site is located within the south of the M4 strategic development location. Outline planning permission for the site was granted in 2014, which included up to 900 dwellings and a primary school. And as part of this application, access to the site was agreed. So here's some of the site photos. So the photo in the top left is the front of the site, taken from the opposite side of Fulbrook Road, where it meets Bays Crescent. The photo on the right of the screen is taken from Hyde End Lane, looking northwest across the site. And the photo on the bottom left is taken at the corner of Hyde End Lane, where it meets Bolton Drive for bus access only. So this is the approved master plan for the outline planning application. You can see the site for the school building location is highlighted in purple. And the outline planning application established the principle of development for the school, including access. The current application seeks approval for the appearance, layout, scale, and landscaping. So the proposed school is designed as a single form entry primary school, accommodating up to 210 pupils. The primary infrastructure for the site, including primary roads, landscaping and drainage, has been granted and implemented. The access road to the school north of Fulbrook Avenue has already been delivered, facilitating the construction of the school building. Access for future users will be via the northern side of Fulbrook Avenue, with additional pedestrian and cycle access at the northwest corner of the site, connecting to a combined footway cycleway which connects Fulbrook Avenue with Ryesh Lane to the north. This has already been agreed. In terms of layout and facilities, the school building will be a part two-storey, part single-storey structure with main play areas to the rear. The front of the school will have a 29-space car park for staff and a 16-space visitor car park with an additional drop-off turning circle. The school has been designed to meet high sustainability standards, including a green roof and extensive landscaping. The landscape officer has supported the application. The building has a modern design with a flat roof to reduce bulk. The design helps set the school apart from adjacent housing, which you can see in that photo. And there's some pictures of the school there for you. And the application is recommended for approval subject to the conditions set out in the report. And then I just want to draw members' attention to the members' update. It is proposed to make a change to condition 6, which responds to members' comments at the site visit regarding the crossing point between the school pedestrian entrance and Bays Crescent play area. This condition will ensure that details of highway and pedestrian improvements along Fulbrook Avenue will be required to be submitted to the LPA for review. Thank you.
Thank you, Abby. Could we now ask Ollie and David to give a presentation? Please go there. You have 3 minutes between both of you. So you can press the button. Thank you.
Okay, so the presentation is behind some of you there. You can go on to the first slide. So this is just kind of set out the context of kind of why this school is, we believe, kind of required and in line with demand in the area. So the two key columns there you want to be looking at, these are the schools within the Shinfield area. And if you look at the third column and the fourth column, those are the two key things you want to be comparing. So the level of first preferences is basically the level of demand for school places in that area. And the PAN is the current capacity in that area. So what you'll see is at the moment we have, in effect, 35 places worth of unmet demand in that area. And a 1FE school would provide 30 places worth of supply in that area. It's worth bearing in mind this is the peak year of forecast demand in the southwest and indeed in Wokingham as a whole. So we think that would be in line with demand ultimately in the medium term. So we think that this is absolutely warranted in school place planning terms. Indeed, it's written into the school organisation strategy that we have that's been adopted within the council last year. So we're very confident this meets the need in educational terms. Moving on to the next slide. It's worth bearing in mind that there are other kind of contextual factors that bear once you bear in mind in this context, specifically in terms of the fact that last year we had to divert 16 pupils away from this area. So that means children who were fundamentally had no preferences met in this area. So there's clearly a need to do something here. And obviously, bearing in mind the wider context of kind of house building in the area, there is a clear need to deliver something to meet that need on an ongoing basis. I'll hand over to you, David.
Okay. So in terms of an overview of the application, it relates to the detailed design of the primary school. So it's the last subphase of the Spencerswood 3 Mile Cross development. It's a one-form entry primary school with SEND provision. It could be run as a new school, or it could be run as a satellite school for an existing school, or satellite for an existing school. We feel that it's high quality design, integrates well with the site and with the context. It's been designed so it could be, the building has been designed so it could be extended to two-form entry. We've also designed it to DFE standards, including Building Bulletin 103, which sets out area guidelines for mainstream schools. In accordance with our Climate Emergency Action Plan, we will commit to high efficiency standards. And we've also included sprinklers within the development as well, which is a Wokingham policy. So we've worked hard with your officers in regards to the design to get this scheme in front of you today. And we thank your officers for that input that they've provided. And we hope you can support the professional recommendation that's in front of you this evening. Thank you. Slightly over.
No, perfect timing. Thank you. Thank you. And now I would like to invite Richard Hoyle on behalf of the Shinfield Parish Council. And the same goes for you, Richard. 3 minutes. Sorry. Was in there, but yeah, just maybe. Yeah,
I did declare that Richard Hoyle was my husband.
Right. Are you ready for me to start? I can declare that Catherine Glover is my wife. I'm registered to speak in a personal capacity, but I've also been asked to speak on behalf of Shinfield Parish Council. And I do so as a member of the Parish Council and a member of its Planning and Highways Committee. Now, I have no desire, even if it was possible in the time permitted, to rehearse the very large body of comments that both the Parish Council and I have made to this application. I have to say that we are by no means convinced by all the answers that we've received from the officers of the Council. But we recognise that this is a reserved matters application and therefore the discretion of the Planning Committee is very limited. We acknowledge the urgency of this application given the terms of the S106 agreement by which the school is funded. And we recognise as well that this is not a hearing into the borough's school strategy so far as it bears on Shinfield and Swallowfield, but we do not accept some of the statements in the papers that you've been sent, and I'm afraid I would question my colleague's assessment that he's just presented. We think that it underplays the scale that's necessary for a new primary school in Shinfield. So we're placed in the awkward position of welcoming this school, but we don't greatly support the application as it's presented. The school, as designed and brought before you, is too small. The number of school places available in the former wards of Shinfield South and Swallowfield is 210. The number of applicants for primary schools in the 2025 round was 291. So there is a shortfall of 81 already. And we expect this to grow given the scale of development that is expected and already granted in Shinfield and the scale that we would expect to see in Swallowfield in the future. Because allocations to schools are made by proximity, we have areas in Spencer's Wood which have no local school, and therefore we see an outflow of children from Spencer's Wood and other areas to more distant schools, and we wish to see that rectified. We welcome this school, and we'd like to see its development start as soon as possible. But we're also certain it's too small to meet current needs, and whilst the officers' reports offer the suggestion that the school might be enlarged at a future date, the decision to build a one-form entry school at this time rather than a three-form school that was originally provided for in the S106 agreement means that the land required has been returned to the developer, and it's not clear whether a new planning application to extend the school would be acceptable to AWE, as this site is in the DEPZ. As this is the only option on offer, we wish the committee to grant planning permission, but we also wish to record our deep dissatisfaction with aspects of this application, and we reserve the right to continue to argue outside this committee for a school which is adequate for local needs.
Thank you, Richard. Turn the microphone off. Thank you very much, Richard.
I've got a whole list of questions that the office... Yes. So they're picking up on Shinfield Parish Council's comments and ignoring those that relate to the capacity of the school and to the access arrangements, which are not the subject of this meeting. Okay, agenda page 48, building location and massing. Is the design of the school capable of expansion in the future? So, sorry, this does immediately follow on, doesn't it? The question about expansion, expandability.
So the shared spaces in the school, for example, the hall, are designed to allow for expansion, and the way that the building was designed is such that it could be extended to the rear to create a new wing if required, but that would be subject to a full planning application, and as you're aware, it's obviously we have to assess what's in front of us, but there is the capabilities.
Thank you. Actually, I added an extra question on my list when we started thinking about the problem of the detailed emergency planning zone and whether a full application would be starting from scratch vis-a-vis those restrictions. I mean, because at the moment we're in a reserved matters situation with the outline planning permission already having been granted, but would a full application be part of that?
Yeah, probably I can answer that best. I've sat in meetings with the AWE and ONR, Atomic Weapons Establishment and Office of Nuclear Regulation. So the school that's been put before you is obviously one form of entry, but the school that went in the outline was 3 forms of entry. So what they've said is they wouldn't object to a school that serves that development, as long as you're not bringing in kids from elsewhere to it. They wouldn't have an objection. So the expansion of the school to 2 forms of entry required, they've advised they wouldn't object to. Obviously, I can't comment for the future if things change. It's a changing world we live in. So, but at the moment, there is no objection to expanding it to 2 forms.
Thank you. Okay, agenda page 49. Condition 50, energy strategy. Can you confirm that the building will achieve the latest DFES, Department for Education, sustainability targets?
So the short answer is yes. And then the extended answer would be that the outline application required a school with a minimum BREEAM, which is the sustainability standard, very good. But this school has been brought forward as to achieve net zero carbon and an EPC-A rating, which is superior to BREEAM, very good. So,
okay,
Catherine, can I maybe ask
sure.
somebody else
Sure. Yep.
Otherwise, but if, I just wanted to check if anybody else has maybe some questions before I let Catherine go on. Okay, and then we carry on. Thank you.
Agenda page 49, condition 59, the drainage strategy. Can you confirm that the design fully mitigates the risk of additional flooding?
Yeah, so drainage was planned at outline stage, but as well as that, a drainage report was submitted with the planning application, has been reviewed by the council's drainage officer, and that it confirms that the proposals provide a high level of water treatment, runoff reduction and flooding, and are in accordance with the requirements of the LLFA, the lead local flood authority. So that has been considered.
Good. Shall I go on? Agenda page 55, safe on-site road and parking arrangements. I share the Parish Council's concern about the lack of a separate entrance and exit and wonder whether the new larger Biffa refuse collection lorries would be able to turn in the turning area. I'm not sure whether the new larger Biffa lorries will be being used initially.
Yeah, so that was raised during the determination period. An additional plan was submitted to show a swept path analysis of a refuse lorry entering and exiting the site in forward gear. I don't know if Alan wants to add anything on that or if you're happy. Yeah, so yes, that has been accommodated.
Okay. Yeah, okay. Now I'm picking up on Shinfield Parish Council's comments, and I just wonder whether you can comment on the lack of highlighted prioritisation of taxi or minibus access.
So it should only be a school for local catchment, so we're not expecting minibus and taxi requirements to be predominant. There's also the bus route, and obviously the design of the site prioritises pedestrian and cyclist access. So it's felt that for a one-form entry in this location, covering the need of the local area, that's not a priority.
Okay, next one is agenda page 55, blue light access. Are the emergency services happy with the blue light access to the north of the building?
So the police and Royal Berkshire Fire and Rescue were consulted on the application and raised no objections or concerns regarding their access.
Agenda page 55, biodiversity net gain. Can you comment on how biodiversity net gain can be achieved?
So the outline application was submitted and approved in 2014, and biodiversity net gain improvements of 10% weren't required at that stage, so there isn't a level that is required. However, a preliminary ecological appraisal was submitted with the application, which proposes biodiversity improvements on the site, and that's been included as part of the planning pack and will be listed on in the conditions as well.
Okay. Can you, agenda page 55, page 56, shading. Can you comment on the question of shading for children both inside and outside the building?
The CGIs show there's like a shading around the ground floor level, so right by the building there's shading all around the building. But also, as I mentioned on the site visit, that will be more operational and isn't so much of a planning matter in terms of additional shading over and above that.
Okay. Agenda page 56, air source heat pumps, ASHP, which I had to have explained to me. Can you comment on the use of air source heat pumps in buildings like this?
So So a sustainability statement was submitted with the sustainability strategy, was submitted with the application, and that identified air source heat pumps and photovoltaic, so solar panels, as the most suitable sustainable energy solution for this building, and that's what's been proposed.
Okay, thank you. Well, actually, you've already covered the solar panels, but can the energy be exported to the grid when solar power is in excess and taken from the grid when it's insufficient? I assume it.
So again, that's operational, but it is possible. It doesn't form part of the planning application or our consideration, but it's possible, yes.
Okay, page 56, SEN provision. Might it not be a problem having some of the SEN provision on the first floor? Might this not be something that the provider of the school might find problematic?
So there's provision on both floors, but there is also a lift in the school building, so I don't think that it's going to be an issue, but like you say, it is operational in terms of for consideration. That the building is fully accessible.
I don't quite know what the concern was there, really. As you say, there is a lift, and the comment did mention the lift, so I'm not quite sure what their worries were. Agenda page 57, dining facilities. Can you comment on the Parish Council's assertion that dining facilities are inadequate for the number of children?
So that's one of the aspects that's actually designed for expansion, so that should be in excess of the requirements for a one-form entry primary school.
Okay. Agenda page 57, EV charging. EV charging for employees like teachers is increasingly desirable, but it's not a planning requirement. Will it be capable of being added later, and would it need planning permission?
So it is capable of being it, but as you know, it's not a planning requirement for schools, which is why we can't obviously refuse it on that basis, but it would be operational, and if required in the future, it could probably be assessed under a travel plan or something like that.
Okay, page 57, security by design. Can you comment on the Parish Council's assertion that the lighting will not operate when the building is not in use and will not contribute to site security or the prevention of antisocial behaviour?
So it doesn't, the lighting doesn't operate outside of school hours. However, it will still be an improvement on the existing situation in that lighting is being added for users and visitors of the school. But the reason that it wouldn't be in operation significantly outside of school hours is because it needs to accommodate the hedgerow strategy in terms of wildlife and light spill. So it's finding that balance between security and lighting up the outside of the school and wildlife.
Okay, well, my last one is the page 57, the Education Nature Project. Can you comment on the lack of a school garden? So I know there's one at Shinfield St Mary's Infant School, maybe others as well.
Yeah, so there's a landscape strategy submitted with the application which proposes a forest school. I know this came up at the site visit, so I did do a little bit of looking into that, and within the forest school there is a sensory garden proposed, and the landscaping between playgrounds is also proposed to comprise of both sensory planting and ornamental planting as opposed to fencing.
Yeah, but I think that what we were thinking of here is actually children doing gardening, not looking at things that have been planted by somebody else.
No, so within the forest garden, that planting and area can also be used in that way.
Okay. Thank you. That's all the questions I've written down anyway.
Can I just ask, this is our first planning committee, and I didn't see any invitation for new planning people coming onto the committee to be trained into planning and what you can and you can't ask and what are relevant to applications. And I think it would be very useful for new people to go through that process, because there's obviously quite clearly some questions being asked that are not things that are in our remit.
We've had, both the new members have had a quick,
Well,
maybe not as detailed yet, and obviously we all have to go on a learning curve, but I can confirm that there has been...
There's a lot of stuff here this evening.
Yeah. It's not part of the planning. Okay, no, but are they, that training has been provided, and obviously we'll do that one. Yeah. Good point. Wayne, thank you.
Can I speak?
Sure.
Wayne, I did run all these questions past the officers before coming to the meeting, and I wasn't told that I wasn't allowed to ask them.
The idea of asking the questions before the meeting so you get the answers, so you know the answers before coming in this evening.
But it's okay. Yeah. Does anybody else have any? I hear you, Wayne, but do you have any big questions?
Stuff that's been asked by the parish council relates back to the SO 106 agreement that dates back to 2014. We can't change that. And it does say quite clearly in the paperwork that it's a school of up to 3 form entry. If there is a requirement in the future, this will be separate to another planning application, which covers off those points. They've sold the land, they've moved on, there's nothing we can do about it.
Chair, can I just ask, having visited the site after the site visit with Councillor Glover, I had the opportunity to see the main entrance, and I'd like to ask the highways officer and the planning officer about the front of the site, which is the main access, because I was kind of envisaging large groups of children with parents, vehicles arriving at the same time. What sort of reassurance can you give the committee that that front area is going to be managed safely in terms of child crossing safety and so on?
Yeah, no, completely understandable. So from the site plan, you'll see that there is separate pedestrian and vehicle access, which is obviously one aspect of that. But also we have now amended Condition 6 specifically for the reason that we can address those concerns through the submission of further details. And we've discussed this with Alan in terms of finding a way that means that we can look at all that in detail once works want to commence on site. So we can, and we've made it purposefully vague such that we can have a lot of input as to how we want to manage the access to the site.
Yeah, sorry, forgive me that I'm aware I don't have a mic, so forgive me speaking loudly to make sure I'm heard and clear. So yes, I understand from the site visit there were questions being raised about pedestrian crossing points, but actually specifically immediately opposite the school entrance for pedestrians, there is a service access that takes you into the playground or area there for maintenance purposes. And I think there was quite a lot of concern that that effectively lends itself to children running straight across the road for that purpose. And that was the reason why we included the variation to that part of the design by way of condition to effectively look to fan the pedestrians out onto the footways to the correct crossing points where it's safe. Thank you.
Caroline.
I think it's a continuation of the entrance. I wanted more of an explanation about the school drop-off zone. I understand the cars come in and drop the pupils off. Is that correct? Because you've got it right at the front here. You've got school. You've got drop-off.
Yeah. So there's
I suppose there's 2 or 3 different elements of, depending on how you view the site layout.
Yeah. Thank
No more questions, comments? Then I would like to invite, if there's anybody who wants to propose to support the application we have in front of us. Caroline, yeah.
Can I make a proposal that we recommend the application?
Thank you. And I need a seconder. Carol, thank you. Could we have a vote for those? Everybody for it? Then I think I can close the meeting, and thank you all.
Just draw your attention to the members' update with regards to the 2 points afterwards. The Blagrove Lane appeal was dismissed, allowed, not dismissed. As I think you're all aware, there's a note at the back that explains the reasoning for that. And also there's a consultation with regards to reform of planning committees. So that is on at the moment, and we will be responding to that.
Yeah. Thank you. Can I just ask Connor, how many major applications have been refused and now gone to appeal that are not part of the committee? So we've told quite a lot about the ones that get refused at committee, but I noticed there's a couple that have been refused recently. Have they gone to appeal? One in particular in Arborfield?
I will have to take that away because I don't know the answer.
Because we keep being told we're very close to the threshold of going into special measures. Make it life interesting, wouldn't it?
Yes, I'll take that away and get you an answer.
We'd all have to have a degree in planning then, wouldn't we?